Alright, so in this video we're going to take a look at RetireCAN. Basically, why do you need retirement planning software? Basically, it's just the only difference between you and a financial advisor. Basically, this is the cheapest, most efficient way to create a pension. That's all retirement planning software is doing. Now, basically, I use this in my practice while I was a financial advisor. Why? Because it gets you the perfect number the first time. So all other softwares you'll see are like goals based. They'll say, hey, you're 90% of the way there. Hey, you're 80% of the way there. And hey, you should invest $50 to fix your problem. Now this software is going to do the same thing, but it just says, hey, here's your after tax number. Is that enough? Basically, that's all you have to ask yourself is this going to pay me enough money? Am I going to be able to live off this in retirement based on your exact returns, everything? Like financial advisors will use these softwares and they never really change the returns. Your returns change all the time. I like to look at the longest term, like the longest time horizon. Basically, it's a more accurate number. And we want to look at your longest average annual returns when using this calculator to get the perfect number. Alright, so to walk through some of the inputs of this app here, basically, I only really need 5 things. If you have a basic retirement, you're not saving monthly to help plan out your pension, no matter how old you are, no matter how much money you have. So to go through the titles here, current, that's where you're going to put your current age. Retirement, that's where you're going to put your predicted retirement age. And life expectancy, this is 95. This is basically the safest way to plan your money out is using a life expectancy of 95. Now, CPP, OAS, GIS, whatever you get, this is what you're going to put in there. Now, if you're planning for retirement, if you don't know your exact number before, this I've included the current number of what the average Canadian gets at 65. So if you're planning to 65, this is kind of what your average CPP is. Now this is where you're going to put in your pensions if you're currently collecting one and just looking for a withdrawal stream for the rest of your money. And this is where we put inflation. Now I've included the number of 3.03%. Basically, this is Canada's long-term average for their inflation rate. But basically, a lot of retirement planning softwares that I've used, maybe a half dozen, basically are based off of a 2% inflation number. Now, my only explanation for that might be because advisors charge 1%. I mean, basically, a plan is so hard to make for an advisor if you're going to actually use a 3.03% inflation number. Now, this is a long-term discussion I've had with some CFPs. Basically, I mean, the Bank of Canada rates 2%. And they're always kind of hitting 2.5%, but basically, what if they change the bank rate, in the future to higher? I'm always feel that the inflation rate while you're predicting your retirement of 3.03 is your best number. And I'll get to changing this number once you're in retirement. Now here, monthly, this is where you're going to put your monthly contributions. Market value, this is how much is in that account at the moment. And returns, this is where you're going to put your longest average annual return. Now, if you're using a new strategy or just switch your accounts and don't have a long-term average, I've shown you many ways how you can look at your performance with Portfolio Visualizer, especially using some of the InvestCAN recommendations with the older ETFs. But yeah, this is all about retirement today. Alright, so I've also included taxable income. Basically, this is one of the trickiest things to, work around with when you're retiring, spreading out your capital gains evenly and whatnot throughout retirement. You always have to be tax conscious. And basically, this is going to help you as well. This is the newest feature, and basically, it's probably in your best interest to trigger these little by little while you're alive. You don't want to leave over $250,000 of capital gains on your deathbed now. Basically, you just got to pay more tax. It's better to just trigger it little by little. Now, basically what I'm offering you here, the most important thing is the after-tax number. This is basically your monthly budget in retirement. And taxes are different in every province, so make sure to click your province that you live in currently, that you pay taxes in. And this is kind of the secret sauce. Basically, it's going to show you year by year how much you should take out. And basically, using this calculator, you'll never run out of money. Now, if your investments do poorly, you might not like the withdrawals that it's going to give you, but you won't run out of money. So basically, if you pair both these apps together, RetireCAN and InvestCAN, I mean, in my opinion, that's your perfect retirement, but I made the apps. So anyways, these will tell you how much to pull out every month in retirement to spread out your money like a pension. Like you're going to pull out this amount every month, this amount when it shows up. And basically it's going to give you your after tax. Now when it comes to the taxable investments, like your individual accounts, there's going to be two different things. You're going to have to trigger capital gains to spread those out evenly. And if you want to withdraw that money as well, add it to your, income, basically it's going to tell you how much to withdraw, and it's also going to include these numbers in the after tax rate. Now your total, that's just how much money it's going to predict you're going to have at retirement, or if you are retired, how much you have currently, just to make sure that you punched in the right numbers. It's if you accidentally punch in 10 million, it's going to show you 10 million here if you only have a mil. And basically, here's your withdrawal rate. This is how basically the secret sauce of finding the perfect withdrawal rate with your retirement. It's just going to tell you, hey, you're pulling out this amount. So if this number is saying like 12, 13, 15% and you're not like 85 years old, definitely make sure you're using the right numbers. All right, so let's predict a 35-year-old's retirement, retiring at 65, living till 95, and we're going to use the number here, maybe close, just close, doesn't have to be perfect, 1.71. Let's say this 35-year-old has $100,000 and is getting an 8% return. So basically what you're going to do is just click on the province that you live in and it will help start calculating your retirement. Now here are the outputs. Since you're not retired, it's not going to tell you how much to withdraw. And basically, since you're going to have a lower tax bracket in the future, you shouldn't trigger capital gains until you are retired. Now there is a special case to this. If you aren't investing all your money in your tax-free savings account and you have some kind of employee share program that matches, basically every year that they become vested, you're going to want to sell those, just pay the tax quickly and stuff it in your tax-free savings account. You basically want to shelter your money as quickly and as much as possible. So a 35-year-old with 100 grand getting 8% returns, basically you're going to hit almost $1 million. Now after tax in the future, this is going to be about $6,000 in the future dollars. Now, I want to make sure everyone looks up here. This is your adjusted for inflation number. So $6,000, 30 years in the future in today's dollars is really only around $2,500. Now you got to say to yourself at this point, is that enough? Now what this number is over here above expectancy, that's saying, hey, we're going to predict your future last year's monthly withdrawal. Like that's how much inflation affects your retirement. Like 35 to 95, things become more expensive. It's just as simple as that. All right, now let's make an example of someone who is retired. How to create the perfect withdrawal stream for your investments. So we're just going to change this current age to 67, leave everything around the same. Now we can say, hey, this person knows their exact CPP and OAS. They started collecting by now. Now it probably is in your best interest to take your CPP at 70, but that's a discussion for another video. So we're just going to say, hey, this person knows they're getting $1,264. And they also have a pension that's paying them $2,345 a month. Now at this point, we can start to use, let's say, the number that most financial planning softwares use, creating a withdrawal stream that's only going to adjust for inflation for 2%. Now, if you have a large enough pension and you really want to front and run your retirement, basically you can use an inflation number of 1%. I wouldn't really go any lower than that. You're just going to run into a sequence of returns risk. Now, someone at this age, they might have a tax-free savings account, but they're not going to be using it for their retirement. This is kind of where they're leaving an inheritance. So let's say they have $1 million in their RSP at the moment. That's getting 6%. They've got a little lira on the side. So these are all taxed the same. Your RSP, your lira, and your group RSP, they're all taxed the same. Basically, you want to put in your monthly contributions if you have some kind of matching plan, yours and the employer's, and the market value and the returns if you have that account. But let's say you have multiple accounts, just again, to pinpoint each little account, you can use all these three different for your registered withdrawals, like your RSP, Lira, they're all listed here. You can put any of those in any of these. So anyways, hopefully that made sense. Let's just say your Lira had only a little bit of money, but you're risking it a little more, and it was getting 9%. Now, basically, at this point, you can just, again, click the calculator. Basically, whatever province you live in, you can kind of see the after taxes changing. You can see, okay, we have $1,025,000. All right, that adds up, and we're looking at a 6% withdrawal rate with these amount of returns. Now, if you only have, let's say, 4%, see how the withdrawal rate goes down? You're not making enough money to pull out that percentage anymore. And basically, when it comes down to the non-registered accounts, this is kind of the trickiest. You're going to find your book value. So let's say there's 50,000 in there, and your account's actually worth 100,000, and this account's been growing at 6%. Now at this point, you're just going to, again, click the number. Now you're triggering capital gains and withdrawals. You could just multiply this by 12 and do an annual withdrawal. I'm a strong believer that just get it done in January. You know, there's more time for your money to be tax-free if you're shifting over there. There's just so many benefits. You know, some accounts charge you like $25, $50 to pull money out every time. So if you just pull it out once, you're going to save some account fees there. So basically, again, your after tax will show you here, your withdrawal rate, and basically it's going to tell you, hey, you're going to trigger these capital gains, and you're going to withdraw this amount if you're going to pay yourself, you know, money in your retirement. You know, if you're a doctor, if you own a business, you're probably going to have some non-registered money, and it's probably now in your best interest to start shifting your non-reg money in your corp to your individual account a little earlier. Like if that's the case, basically just say however old you are is how much you have in your retirement, and you're saying, hey, maybe this person only plans to live till 90, and they have, let's say, $500,000 in there and $1 million in market value. Basically, we'll say like, hey, like start triggering this and start withdrawing this, and shift it over into your individual account. So I hope this explanation made sense for everyone. I mean, I guess this is the official demo of RetireCAN, basically the easiest calculator to use. Basically, these numbers here is what I'd put in the financial company software that they wanted me to use, and it would just find me the perfect number off the bat. None of this, you know, you're 90% of the way there, you're 80% of the way there.